Hello, everyone. Many years ago, when I was serving another church, on an Easter Sunday, I was doing the children's story. And so I asked the kids, who was the first person at Jesus' tomb? And immediately one little boy said, Jesus. And after the congregation stopped laughing and I regained my composure, I said, no. What I meant was, who was the first person to see the risen Jesus after his resurrection? And of course, the answer is Mary Magdalene. Of all the people that the Lord could have chosen to be the first one, it was Mary Magdalene, not Peter, not James, not John, Mary. And so I want to read you this passage from John's Gospel, John chapter 20, beginning at verse 11. Now Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw two angels in white seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and the other at the foot. They asked her, Woman, why are you crying? She said, They have taken my Lord away, and I don't know where they have put him. At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. He asked her, Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for? Thinking he was the gardener, she said, Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him. Jesus said to her, Mary. She turned toward him and cried out in Aramaic, Rabboni, which means teacher. Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, I have seen the Lord. And she told them that he had said these things to her. Now, I know we're a long ways from Easter Sunday, but it's amazing that Mary Magdalene did not recognize the risen Jesus when she was face to face with him. Ever wonder why? She saw him. She heard him speak. She still didn't recognize that it was him. She thought it was the gardener. And I think the reason is because she was so focused on her own situation. She thought that he was dead and buried and gone. And so she was experiencing grief and sorrow and sadness. And she was so consumed, so focused by that, that she could not see and hear the reality right in front of her eyes and ears. It wasn't until Jesus spoke her personal name, Mary, that she realized that it was Jesus. Now, during this pandemic and during your personal problems, you might be so focused on the situation that you don't realize that the Lord is right there with you. But he is. And not only that, but he calls you by name, just as he called Mary by name. In John chapter 10, Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. And he said what his audience knew for a fact, that shepherds call their sheep by name, each and every one in the flock. And Jesus calls us by name. So no matter how many people share your first name on this planet, he will never get you mixed up with those others. He knows you, he calls you by name. And what you need to do is to hear his voice and listen for him calling your name and realizing that he is there with you, even in the midst of your sadness, your sorrow, your grief, your frustration, your anger, all those negative emotions, those feelings that are weighing you down. During this pandemic, which has been going on so long, and during all of your personal trials and tribulations, which may be getting you down and wondering maybe in your own heart, Lord, where are you? In the midst of all this that's happening to me, where are you? Well, he's right there with you. He was right there with Mary Magdalene in the garden at the tomb, a place of death. He who is the life was there, and he is there with you too. He is there with you now. Realize it. He was there for Mary Magdalene. He's there for you. He called her by name. He is calling you by name. He is risen. He is alive. He is with you 24/7. So remember the words of that wonderful Easter hymn. You know it, in the garden. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. Amen.